right, welcome to this video. My name is Taylor Benchard, and I'm going to talk to you today about the #1 agency automation tactic, which is called the work breakdown structure. Now, there's two elements. There's this work breakdown structure, which I'm going to talk to you about, and then there's this AS, which stands for Automation Specialist, $3 to $5 an hour. If you put these two things together, I guarantee you this video will be worth 6 figures for you in the next 12 months if you actually do it. So, why is it important, first of all, to automate your agency, to build systems and to build processes? Like, you can get to 7 figures, without really having too many systems and processes, but sustaining 7 figures and going to 8 figures, you won't even have a chance if you don't have good processes, good systems. So that's why this is important. Now, I call it automation. Automation is where the automation specialist comes in. This is more so systems and processes, okay? So let's talk about it. And the first thing we're going to look at is this. At the top, we have a client. Now, this work breakdown structure is something that was built by PMI, the Project Management Institute. They've been around for a long time. Anything to do with project management systems and processes, they've got phenomenal stuff. They've built a lot of it, and this is basically from them, okay? So I didn't just create this. Now, the top level, we have the client. Now, this is going to be a work breakdown structure for service delivery. I'm not going to talk about marketing. I'm not talking about sales. We're just talking about service delivery. At the top, you have the client. When this client pays you money, there's a process that you go through. Everything, there's a process. It can all be written down. Even if right now you don't have a specific process, generally there's a process that you go through, and it's pretty much the same for all your clients, unless you're doing full service with 100 different services. Then I recommend you pick one, otherwise it's going to be impossible for you to scale if you're starting out. So we have the client, and then the phase 1 is just this level here, okay? So phase 1 is this level here. These two squares are phase 1. Now the square just represents here in this a phase. So this is 1.1, phase 1, 1.1 onboarding, okay? So everything beneath this is a derivative of onboarding, okay? So all of these squares here are basically within the onboarding, and to accomplish the onboarding phase, we need to accomplish these phases here, or these deliverables and work packages, which we'll get to in just a moment. So you have the onboarding phase. This is basically, hey, when you sign the client, when they pay you money, now you need to go through and complete phase 1. So to start, you basically have the phases at the top, and then you have high-level deliverables here. Now, this high-level deliverables is called level 2. Now, it's level 2 because we're talking only about high-level deliverables. So, for example, in our agency, we run a PPC advertising agency, and what we do, first thing we come into account is bid management. Okay, so we basically make sure to take over the bids, which is like the person who's managing the advertising in the account. We take that over, we plug it into our software. That's it. So bid management is the first thing we do. The second thing we do is P1 campaigns, basically just phase 1 campaigns, the first initial round of campaigns that we launch. Now there's a collection of different types of campaigns within this because, again, this is a high-level deliverable. It's not saying do this, do that. It's just saying, hey, this is a milestone or a high-level deliverable that has a lot of stuff that we need to do within it, okay? And now, below this is work packages. This is the lowest level. So there's only 3 levels in a work breakdown structure. You have level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is the phases. That's the most highest level that you have. Level 2 is the high-level deliverables. This is the phase broken down into some chunks. And then level 3 is the high-level deliverable broken down into work packages. Now, work package is defined by PMI, which is, again, the Project Management Institute that created this structure, I believe they created it, defines a work package to be a collection of activities or tasks. Now, activities or tasks are things like do this or do that or pull this and pull that. Now, a work package is just a collection of activities and tasks wrapped up into a package, basically. So there's only one work package for this in our agency. So to do bid management, it's very simple. There's one work package. We just need to integrate the software. To integrate the software, basically we plug into the software. We basically set a target profitability level, and that's relatively it. So it's very, very simple. Now, a general rule of thumb is that your work package should contain enough work within it that it's like no more than 80 hours of work, no less than 8 hours, but we're breaking this rule in our agency. This probably only takes like 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but we're still breaking it out because it's a very important process. So if you want to be strict and follow the guidelines of the creators of this work breakdown package or work breakdown structure, I recommend you go to PMI, projectmanagementinstitute.org, I believe it is, and learn more about their specific black or white rules. Again, it's malleable. You can change it however you want. But the point is that in this entire breakdown structure, there is no verbs, okay, to begin with in any of these squares. So onboarding, technically, we're going to consider this a noun, and all of the rest of these should be nouns, okay? You don't want any verbs because you don't want to have like action words that imply an action that needs to be done. You more so just want to have a noun that basically implies like a milestone or a high-level deliverable that needs to get done, or a work package that needs to get done. So campaign drafting is just basically, hey, there's a process of we need to go in and do campaign drafting, but it's not saying go in and launch and create campaign drafts. Create campaign drafts would be more of a verb, which would be defining an action, and we don't want to do that. Now, the reason for that is because, again, this is just high level. It's just a one-pager view of your entire agency and the processes that you go through. Now, you may be thinking, why is this important? Because at scale, when you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 100 employees, things get really chaotic very quickly, and there becomes so many systems and so many processes that for you as the CEO and the founder, to make sure that you're still like in touch and make sure that you still have a finger on the pulse of what the hell your agency does, you need a one-pager like this that can tell you. It's that simple. You need a one-pager to be able to look at everything from a high level. Now, you can build this out more in depth. If you want to get down to the nitty-gritty, like the how-to, which is be considered like an SOP, a standard operating procedure, that's fine. You can go down a 4th level. That would be considered level 4, which is where you actually break down the how-to for this work package, okay? So within the work package is the SOP. That's basically how it works, and that's how we are using this system. Most people don't do it like that. That's how we're doing it. So within this work package, we would have like a link to a doc, or it would just simply, you would click on it and it would open up an SOP that actually outlines how to with verbs, such as open up the software, get the target profitability level from the client, input the target profitability level into the software, confirm and review all details, done. That's the whole work package for this. Notice how in that example I tried to use a lot of verbs because it implies action and activity that needs to be done. For this, it's just high level. Now, this is really legendary, and you may not like it as much as me, but I love this because originally I just found out about this recently, and actually it's kind of more or less what we've done for years, except it's a better structure. At the top, you have this number 1, okay? This can signify, or this can resemble, I don't know what the right word was, but this can represent basically the highest level that you possibly have, and you can call it number 1 or project 1 or whatever. We just call it a client with a happy face because at the end of the day, we're trying to make our clients happy. Now, down below, you have level 1, which is why we have this 1.1, and then we have 1.2 to represent the next layer. Now, these are just little identifiers that can tell you like basically how deep you are or what process level you're at. Now, below here, bid management is 1.1.1, and then P1 campaigns is 1.1.2, okay? Now, 1.1.1 is basically a derivative of 1.1, right? So this is technically, if you were to add another decimal place to this, it would be 1.10, right? So then that's why this is 1.1.1, this is 1.1.2. Below 1.1.2, if you go down another layer, which is a derivative of this, you'll have 4 to the 3rd decimal place, basically, which is 1.1.2.1, and then so on. You never go past the 3rd decimal place, I believe that is, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've said to the 3rd decimal place, since that was like grade 12, grade 10. math, but basically you have 3 decimals and you don't go beyond that unless you were to go to level 4, which is the actual how-to SOP structure. So this is nice. Why? Because you can basically restructure it into a Google Sheet that allows you to basically see everything in order 1 to 1.1 to 1.1.1 to 1.1.1.1 to 1.1.1.2 and so on. And it's super organized. It's amazing if you're like me and you love structure and you love seeing order and breaking things down into their constituent parts and then rebuilding them to have a better throughput and basically make it more efficient. So once you've got all that done, the level 1, the level 2, level 3, this should probably only take you like a day or 2. It depends. For me, I've been spending a lot of hours on the phone with my team to be able to remember and re-go through, hey, what does our current work breakdown structure look like? So that way I can jot this out and then go in and find the bottleneck, which if you watch one of my previous videos where we talk about identifying the bottleneck and increasing your throughput, this ties into that more or less because this will help you identify what the most inefficient process is in your agency. Each and every one of these little things can basically represent a process, and within it is another process, within it is another process, until you get to like an atomic level where you can't go any further. So the next thing you want to do after you've built this out, and I recommend you go down to the 4th level and you build out the actual SOP for each of the work packages. Again, just so you understand this, there's not going to be an SOP at the level 2 or level 1. SOPs are level 4 basically within the work package. So this work package will have an SOP, this one will have an SOP, and it'll break down step by step the actual how-to. Okay, this isn't how-to, this is the what. Okay, this is not the why, this is not the where, this is not the how, this is simply talking, about the what. Now, the next thing you want to do is hire an automation specialist. I've been talking about this for a long time. You can find them in India. You can find them in the Philippines. They are phenomenal at automating things, and it's mostly to do with monotonous tasks that have to do with a lot of data scraping, pulling, moving, basically ETL, which is a term that they use when you're building software, and it's extract, transfer, and load. And you're basically, if you have any form of manual labor that has to do with extracting data, transferring the data, loading the data into a sheet, pulling this and transforming it, an automation specialist can automate that all day long, okay? Now, if you're running a web design agency, I don't know how useful this will be for you. I don't really know what the processes are like, but for an advertising agency, especially in PPC, there is a lot of data and there's a lot of like extraction, transferring, and loading data. It's like literally, that's our entire agency is just like an ETL process. So this person, highly recommend, and again, they're pretty much just like data scrape specialists that have a background in computer programming. And let me see if I can give you some practical terms that you could search for when it comes to these. Some NetBean, I believe, or NetScrape is a tool that some of them use. They have a lot of experience with Excel and VBO or something. I forget what it's called, VBE. But anyways, they have experience with like a ton of experience with macros in Excel. They have a ton of experience with Google Apps Scripts, which is the macro version for Google Sheets. So to have experience with these things, basically, they need to have some form of programming experience. And Again, you can just do your own research. It's not that difficult, but they're basically ETL specialists. They can transform, scrape data, and automate the process very well. So again, just to reiterate this whole thing, this is a work breakdown structure. I didn't come up with this, but I did kind of create a similar version of this, and I called it a digital brain. And then I found out that it's actually kind of already been built by PMI. And if you want to learn more about it, I recommend you go to PMI. They're great. They got a lot of stuff they talk about very in-depth in a textbook format on project management. And this is all project management. Anything to do with increasing throughput is essentially project management. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was somewhat in-depth, somewhat high level. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button. I release a video once a week, every week, to try to help you scale and automate your agency. Lately, it's been a lot about automation. primarily because that's what I'm focusing a lot on my agency right now. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.